Hello, everyone. I have a lot of information for you today, and so forgive the lengthy video, but if you can find a few minutes to sit down, relax, and I can almost guarantee you it will be worth your time. So, what if I told you that we could begin overnight sheltering, night and day services for 365 days a year by October 1st of this year? Well, I'm here today to tell you that we can. And so, first, I wanted to thank you for your patience through the recent time of some challenge and some uncertainty. We, as you know, are committed to serving our homeless, and that doesn't end. And so, we work tirelessly to overcome many barriers that we face. And we thank you for continuing to encourage, believe in, trust, and support us, even through some bleak times. But today we have exciting news to share with you about the future of services for our homeless. So, as you likely know, Fortitude was forced to make some very difficult decisions in the last several months, including the decision to close the chapter on our efforts to build a permanent shelter on Washington Avenue in Kankakee, and our decision to move services out of Kankakee. These decisions were based on two main factors. The first one is that to complete our construction, we were depending on several grants that would have helped us reach our $1 million plus construction cost goal. We were not selected to receive a $250,000 state capital grant, and we recognize that we were not going to be approved for the $100,000 City of Kankakee grant, ARPA grant, and we were not approved to receive the $150,000 Kankakee County ARPA grant for overnight shelter operations, which would have allowed us to move unrestricted funds already allocated for overnight sheltering to our capital campaign. And so we could have used the ARPA grant to then fund our overnight shelter while moving unrestricted funds to capital. So we did not successfully receive those three grants that would have allowed us to make construction possible. The second was increasing hostility toward the homeless. There were false claims being made that the Fortitude shelter was drawing in homeless from other communities and states. It led to a realization that even if we were to obtain a permanent shelter site in Kankakee, we and our homeless would continue to face that kind of increasing adversity. After speaking to people all over the state in the last couple months, we have found that these tactics and barrier are very common all over the world. And this has helped us understand those strategies, but it also has encouraged us to keep fighting. But we don't want our community to be just another community that gave up on their homeless and caved to pressure. So this past shelter season was incredibly difficult for us, with a significant amount of pressure and scrutiny both on us and our guests. And we must find a way to serve our homeless while gaining approval from our community. That is our goal. So we believe a solution has emerged. As dark as the days were for us for a bit, I am always reminded that God has bigger and better plans for us than we can conceive. And we have been blessed with a new three-pronged plan to provide services for the homeless. The first prong of the plan was an idea for a possible solution that would allow us to continue to provide overnight shelter this fall. And it led us to a Florida nonprofit called The Source. And I will link that on social media so that you can check that out yourself. But this organization, having faced some similar challenges in their area, it led them to the same idea that we had. And so they began repurposing decommissioned coach buses in 2021 to provide mobile shelters for 18 to 20 individuals on each bus. They call this the Dignity Bus, and this is not a new concept. Countries in Europe and Australia have been doing this for quite a while, And this has worked so well for the source that they now offer to create these shelter buses and sell to other communities. Um, in fact, the City Council of Woonsocket, Rhode Island, recently purchased themselves a bus for their community, which they will give to a nonprofit to operate to serve the shelter in their community. So this means at a cost of about $150,000, we can obtain a custom made, fully equipped shelter within 3 weeks of contracting with them, with no permits needed from municipalities. In addition, without the requirement of a fire sprinkler system and the bus's relatively inexpensive overhead, we can operate overnight shelter for 365 days per year. We would be the first and only organization in the state of Illinois to utilize such innovation to provide more shelter beds, and only the third organization in the entire United States. So today we are announcing our intention, barring any major obstacles, to purchase a Dignity bus for our community that we will call the Night Fort. Our bus could arrive by early September for an October 1 program start. This bus can be parked at different planned locations each night. It can run on electric or generator while not in motion, and it solves an ever-present proximity problem for us. That is, individuals needing to be at work very early in the morning or leave work late at night can simply be dropped off or picked up right at their workplace. Each private sleeping pod would offer a storage locker, a USB port, outlets, and a fixed tablet for some media viewing. The bus itself has 2 bathrooms and even accommodation for pets on board. Our drivers will double as our overnight staff with the security assistance of security cameras inside and outside the bus. With adequate funding, we can provide this shelter 365 days a year. If you think about it, such accommodation on trains and planes would be first class. Myself and 2 other staff and board members will be traveling to the source the weekend of July 15 to check out their Dignity buses and the bus that's ready to be delivered to Rhode Island. And we'll also observe how they run their buses, how they do their programming. So we will be sharing much of this on social media, so you can also come along. While the bus can be operated without a home-based building, in other words, as a standalone program, this is really far from ideal. Therefore, a parallel program to the bus, the second prong in our 3-pronged programming, would be a day center, where our homeless can go to receive case management services, needed resources, shower, laundry, meals, and referrals. The day center, which we will call the Day Fort, would be open from 1:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day, all year, and guests would board the bus there for 9 p.m. for overnight accommodation. The bus would then proceed to its parking spot for the night, and we envision a rotating schedule of churches, businesses, and other locations where the bus would be welcomed for a night each week or each month. While the bus will not be in motion most of the night, we have the ability to drive it where needed to accommodate work schedules or early morning appointments. Breakfast would be served back at the day center from 8 to 9 a.m. before guests are off for the morning. We are currently seeking a building to purchase in Bradley that would suffice for this need for a day center. And if this can be found soon, without too much rehab needed, this too can be operational by October 1. We are thrilled that Governor Pritzker and our state legislators passed a budget recently that included a very ambitious and generous plan to address homelessness, and it included healthy increases in funding. Because of this, we can propose our 3rd prong in our sheltering plan for our 2023-24 programming. This program is contingent on approval of a state expansion grant, gaining the needed permits, and obtaining an adequate building to lease. But this program would be an overnight shelter dedicated to serving only women and children. Due to fire sprinkler requirements, however, we would only be able to operate the shelter for 180 days of the coldest months. But the bus will always be an option for shelter for all ages and genders year round. For this program, we would seek a building to lease, since grant money can be used for rent, but not for mortgage payments. And it doesn't commit us to a building, whatever the future brings for us. If funded, we hope to have this program operational by November 1. So speaking of the future, while these programs will serve us very well over the next several years, our goal is still to obtain a permanent building where all of our services, night and day services, can be provided under one roof. One of our goals over the next few years is to help prepare the community for a permanent shelter. So we will not face adversity when the time comes to gain permits for that building and that service. The bus will have some resale value and purpose in 2 to 3 years, so we believe that investment can help us fund future planning. We know that the capital campaign project we hoped for is no longer the project we can accomplish, and we are disappointed that we couldn't make that happen. However, we are very excited about the new plan set before us, and we hope that you are too. While final decisions and contracts are yet to be made, our general plan is the following: to spend roughly $150,000 to purchase the Dignity bus. We hope to have contracted by the end of July and delivery by September so we can operate October 1. To spend about $250,000 for purchase and rehab of the day center building. And with a bit more capital fundraising and some answered prayers for no major roadblocks or unexpected expenses, it is very possible that we can obtain all of this and have programs operating by October 1 without having to take out a loan. This means more money can be funneled directly to services for our homeless. Capital donors have already been notified to state their preferences for their capital donations, but we will relaunch our capital fundraising for the night fort and the day fort within the next couple weeks. Larger donors earmarking funds for the bus can be prominently displayed on the design wrap of the bus, and we will still plan for a donor recognition display at our day center building. We will likely hold an open house event to show off our new programs by late September, so please look for those updates. So is this a perfect plan? No, the answer to that is no. We had hoped by now to have a permanent home for all of our services, but our community is just not ready for that right now. This plan allows us to provide all of our current services with the addition of the day center, with money we have on hand, while we continue to raise funds for the future. Another drawback is the use of a diesel vehicle. As we recently began prioritizing more environmentally friendly practices, we aren't crazy about this. But we believe this is a small concession for the incredible needs that the bus will meet. Finally, there will be some who feel this is not adequate shelter for individuals. We would like to point out that the privacy provided in these sleep pods, using the same mattresses that we've been using, offers much more privacy than it ever has at the shelter. And it offers ready access to their own electricity, Wi-Fi, and entertainment. People all over the world, every day, spend the night in buses, trains, and airplanes. So this is not a new concept. So here are a couple answers to questions we anticipate. Why would the day fort be closed from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.? And the answer is for many reasons. It isn't healthy for individuals to just sit around in one facility all day long. So this encourages guests to get out and access resources like food pantries, look for jobs, and connect with people in their networks. In addition, the Salvation Army has long provided lunch from 12 to 1, and we want our guests to continue to access this resource. So who can access the night fort? Whether or not we're able to open the shelter for women and children, the bus will always be an option for men, women, and children. Some couples may wish to remain together even if the women's shelter is open, and the women's and children's shelter would not be open year-round. The bus can accommodate all ages, though we still will not be able to accommodate individuals with a sex offense registration. Is the night fort accessible to those who use wheelchairs? It is indeed a drawback that it is not accessible if an individual cannot leave the wheelchair. However, we have other resources that we can implement to offer temporary but immediate shelter for such individuals. Why aren't we pursuing a permanent shelter for both men and women? Based on challenges faced in the past and recent conversations that we've had, plus the current lack of affordable and adequate building in Bradley, we do not believe that we can attain a building and permit for overnight sheltering for men for the 23-24 season. The bus is a way to guarantee we can provide overnight shelter this fall without the uncertainty of building possession and permitting. A permanent shelter site will continue to be a long-term plan for Fortitude and Kankakee County. So, what do we need from you? Well, first of all, we need a building. And so any help that you can provide with leads for available buildings in Bradley that are not too expensive, nor along Route 50, and are closer to the south side, we would welcome. Please support us when it is time to apply for a permit to operate the day fort, and especially if we are fortunate enough to apply for a women's and children's shelter permit. We deeply desire for this process to be devoid of negativity and show everyone that the people of Kankakee County support services for our homeless. Please like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you haven't already to stay up to date on our progress every step of the way. Help us spread the good news by sharing our posts on your social media. Please consider if you or your church or your workplace might want to partner with us. We will be looking for locations to park the bus on different nights, and larger donors will be displayed on the bus, and possibly a place to park the bus during the day. I will be looking for a graphic artist who can develop some great designs for our bus and our new building, and also a great diesel mechanic that we can depend on to keep us running every day. So I would love to hear your suggestions. You know the people that serve our area better than anyone. We committed this year to moving forward with Fortitude, and we hope that you will be moving forward with us.